minutes. If you have not followed his Triple H horse racing podcast, you're missing out. It's one of the best podcasts in the country.
Good evening and welcome to episode 5 of the Leaderboard right here on the HHH Racing Podcast, sponsored by TwinSpires. I'm your proud host, Howard Kravitz, along with excellent contest player, co-host of the Gallop Out, co-host of Pacific Horse Players, Mr. Jackson Uniz, and we are here today to not only recap last week's very exciting Remsen contest here for TwinSpires, but also we got a big contest this Saturday. It's a $1,500 buy-in, $1,000 in your bankroll, $500 entry fee, and it is for seats in the NHC. It's the NHC qualifier at Turfway Synthetic Championships. Thanks for joining us. You can listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor, and you can follow us on X at HHH Racing Pod. Mr. Muniz, you've been a busy gentleman. How are you doing today?
Doing good, Howard. How are you doing? Always happy to join you.
I'm doing all right. It's a little chilly here. The weather here basically completely sucks. If you're in the Midwest, you know we've got like 8. Actually, we got a little melting snow yesterday, but it's going to be a whopping high of 10 and 11 this weekend. Bears game Sunday at home against the Browns. How about a little negative 15 wind chill, Jackson? Sound like fun?
Yeah, a little different than out here. I think it was 81 today in the second week of December. So we're on the two opposite ends of the spectrum here.
I'm going to Gulfstream right after Christmas with Matt Miller, actually. So hopefully the weather's going to cooperate. We're not here to talk about the weather. We're here to talk about TwinSpires contest, Shacks. I know you took one on the chin a little bit last week, but I mean, not really, man. We're going to talk about it because you put yourself in a great position. I mean, I don't know if Mikey P was part of your, was your partner or not. Doesn't really matter. He was. Okay. I know he usually is. We'll talk about that in a minute. A lot of exciting stuff going on. So let's go ahead and just jump right in. Again, upcoming, we'll talk about at the end of the show, is the Turfway Synthetic Championships. And what a card that is. In fact, Turfway started tonight with 2 bombs. No surprise there. Before we get into, well, actually, let's go ahead and talk about last week. First of all, so it was the Remsen contest. It was to get into the KDBC, and I thought about how I want to start the show tonight, Jackson. By the way, Matt Miller has some family obligations tonight, ladies and gentlemen. That is why he is not with us. Of course, Jackson and Noah alternate coming on. I was thinking about how to handle this, Jackson, and it sort of brought me back to when I started in contest play. Now, you're not really a newbie at this point. You've been playing contests for almost a year now, so whatever. So, I mean, seriously, for a good 6-8 months. I mean, some people have been playing for years, so I guess that is new. But I thought back to sort of when I started. I only started, my very first live money contest was Arlington Park, God rest its soul, 2020. And then I didn't play another contest till like 6 months later. There wasn't TwinSpires around for contests anyway. And I thought about you a little bit because, boy, I had some rough beats when I started, but there's a point, and this is going to happen to you, my friend, I know it. There was about a 4-month segment early in my contest play where I just got a complete heater. I finished, so in 21 NHC, that was my first NHC in 21. I actually qualified and won like 15,000. Then 22, I finished 5th in the Pegasus contest, which was another 5-digit score. And then later in March, this one behind me here, and we had Christian Helmers on. This is the biggest score ever. I finished 2nd in the Ultimate Betting Challenge only 2 months later after the Pegasus score, and that was for about 70,000 with everything combined. So, look, it comes and goes, man. My point is, you're going to have your time. I know you are, but damn, it's frustrating. You were right there, man, the whole way. We'll go ahead and show your entry, and you can talk it through a little bit. Let me go ahead. I know you had 2, so let me go ahead and bring it up right now, and I'll shut up and let you talk here. The first big score you had, and this was, of course, last Saturday, which was absolutely fantastic, that vaulted you into first, Jackson. You and Mikey, and you guys were actually first for quite a while, if I recall, as we did the live show. I'll bring it up on stage right now. There we go. Is Life and Times Exacta over I want to say Mindframe. It's not Mindframe. It's Who's the horse I'm drawing for you? Dreamlike, sorry. Yeah. Over Dreamlike, you see it on the screen there. I know it's a little small. I'll bring it up. And it looked like on the other entry, you did life and times, 2 exactas, right? So you basically had life and times to 3 horses, 2 different contests, all in. That was your major first play. Am I correct about that?
Yeah. Yeah, it was exactas with life and times over 3 horses. And life and times, boy, does he look pretty good, pretty exciting prospect for those connections. I mean, we were talking after, like, man, maybe they should have taken a shot at the Cigar Mile with the way this horse has been running. So he looked good again, got the job done. We were fortunate enough to get Dreamlike up into second. And fortunately, I believe that was the combo that was paying the most for us because we had 3 combos. We were all in on the combo with him and Dreamlike. And that we were fortunate enough to hit that. And I think we got to around 1,800 or so. I mean, it was not small. It was a lot more than we were kind of expecting. And it was around 7 to 8x, I believe. And if you told me we were in first place at 7-8x with 3 races to go, I would have told you that we were big favorites to be in the top 4. And unfortunately, it's not the way it ended up happening later in the contest. But at that point, we were feeling pretty good.
Well, what you've been doing really well lately, and I got to give you a lot of credit, my friend, because I've sort of been the opposite lately. It comes and goes. I mean, it's really frustrating. Like I've like Chapman's Peak flashback still. Is your main opinion you got to hit, obviously. Right. And you've been doing a lot of that. And Mikey, your main opinions have been scoring, which has vaulted you close to the top of the leaderboard or at the top in many of these contests. You can see it there. You got 1885, and then you show bet you just chilled all the way until the last race, which we're going to talk about. But you got to score. You got to hit your main play. And my main play is I've just been a little bit short. I've been a little bit off. I just haven't had the right main play. So that's the key for everyone, obviously. If you're going to play that way, which is one big punch to get to a second big punch, not everyone has to play that way, but that is the way, in generally speaking, that I think Matt would recommend, I'd recommend, and now as you've gotten in the tournament world, you would recommend as well.
Yeah, look, we all know how hard it is to hit in this game. And if you have a good opinion and you have one good opinion and you're right about it and you don't put yourself in a position to be successful in these tournaments, you're probably not playing it correctly. You're not maximizing your chances of winning these contests. So you got to be right about that big opinion. And you got to hit it as hard as you can because, as we all know, it's hard. It's very, very hard. So
it's really hard. Well, we're going to talk about a hard sequence coming up, a difficult sequence at the end of this show. And by the way, of course, 8 o'clock tonight Eastern, right here. Wednesday night, of course, we are followed by Ben and Boozin with a really good late pick 5 at Gulfstream Park. Kyle, Andrew, and Patrick, 2 stakes for 3-year-olds on the turf, full fields. Really nice late pick 5. So stick around after our show is starting at 8 p.m. Eastern here live. We'll be betting and boozing. Real quick on this horse, Life and Times. I wasn't really trying to beat him, but I wasn't as confident as you and Mikey P. A Pletcher and a late 4-year-old debuting. I'm like, wow, he ran great first time, but sometimes those horses can't replicate that. Obviously, you guys were confident. Would I be crazy to suggest it's not really like Pletcher, but I was thinking about this earlier today. I mean, why not the Pegasus? I mean, why not? I mean, it's not, he got a 104, 100. He's a Justify. You figure distance isn't a problem. I don't know what monsters are going to show up in the Pegasus. It's the race has been a little bit, I don't want to say devalued, Jackson, but a lot of horses now point towards Saudi and Dubai. I mean, I don't know where they're planning, but why not would be my answer.
I agree with you 100%. It's not like he's going from 6.5 to 9 furlongs. He's been running the 1-turn miles, which are probably very equivalent to the 9 furlongs at Gulfstream Park. So definitely class test, definitely has to run off Lasix for the first time. But as you kind of alluded to, it's not like there's any sovereignties or Forever Youngs waiting in the wings in Florida. So I'd be surprised if they at least didn't consider taking a shot with this horse.
I wouldn't say Pletcher's conservative, Jackson, but it is only the horse's, be only 3rd-time lifetime start. If I were to guess, I think they'll go maybe that like older handicap route into the fairgrounds. Like there's a series of races there for older horses. There's really not a lot of options though of high quality in the winter for older horses other than the Pegasus. I mean, there's really nothing in California because then they're not going to go out to, obviously the Malibu Days coming up, opening days coming up too quick to consider that 1.8 race that they have there. And then you got to face some Baffords too. So, and some other good ones probably. So I don't know. Life and Times, really impressive. Very impressive. Sure. Let's talk about the last race very quickly. We'll talk about that the least. How's that?
Yeah, it's fine.
But we do need to talk about it, obviously. So the last race on Gotham Day was a cluster. Now there was a big favorite, there was a heavy favorite that I defaulted to. I didn't love the horse, and we're talking about Parker Boone. As you see you see the results of the last race in the contest on Saturday, Remsen Day. Sunday Boy won $27, complete bombs underneath. You can see the price on the right. It was 12-1 over 17 over 34. There were two pretty heavy favorites. Parker Boone was coming off a 77 buyer at Parks, did have to stretch out, but looked like he was pretty talented. Again, this was New York Sire Stake action, and went off at 89 cents to the dollar. And the other horse, which I liked a lot less, but I understood why people like this horse, was Spirit of New York for Adam Rice and Irad, who you figure wouldn't jump on a horse, Jackson, that, would be quote unquote dead on the board. But, he was basically a turf horse. He had some dirt breeding, but not a lot. And he was bet very heavily at 7-2 or 3-1, basically. Other than that, no one is really taking money and tell everyone what you did, and obviously it didn't work out. But you're not the only one. Looked like Ryan Petroniak and probably some others did exactly the same thing you did.
Yeah, so we were in third place, and Matt was in first by a lot. Matt was going to be first. There was basically 4 seats. There was like 3.95 seats. So we were in first place, or Matt was in first. He was untouchable. We were like $100 behind Michael, and then someone else was right behind us in fourth, and then Ryan was not too far behind fifth. So it was very clustered for those last 3 spots. And there was still a lot of people behind them that had plenty of money too.
Right.
And they do think it's noteworthy that with the race before, the Bing Cigar Mile was a small field. The favorite one, you don't know who was alive. Doubles going in the last race too. It could have been a very logical double. So we really felt like if the 2-horse won that last race, we were going to be in trouble. I felt really confident about that. I had no doubt in Ryan. Ryan was going to have the 2 and have the 2-horse one. And he did bet the 2, as did many others that it didn't quite work out. So we had to decide we're going to bet the 2, but do we bet the 2 for a few $100 to pass everyone else except for Matt? Do we bet the 2 with the 7, who was taking all the money and seemed like the most obvious other horse in the entire world? Or do we bet the 2 with a few other horses to win and go all in? So, we had to make a decision there. Unfortunately, we went with the one decision that was going to prove costly. We went with the 7 and didn't quite work out. But you know what? We had the 4-5 shot and the 3-1 horse in the big field. And if you combine their chances, they're what? I don't know what the math is, but it's a 1-2 shot, 3-5 shot.
Yeah.
And it was paying out $7,000. So we got 6-1 on a 3-5 shot. I think that's kind of that's a swing you take every single time, I think, when you look at it through that lens. So
yeah,
it's just with the result, but it's going to happen sometimes.
Look, I'm not going to criticize because I was in that position. I don't know what I would have done. I did talk about the Sunday Boy on Thursday on our preview, and we talked about him live, that he looked like he's the only horse that had dirt form that could close. This is not red boarding. I mean, we did talk about it. I'm not going to sit here and say I thought the horse was going to win, though, Jackson. Yeah. In fact, on the show, I said I'd probably use him underneath, to be very honest. But Chris Couples, great job with a solo double to the 9. And look, I can't blame what you did. I mean, you went to 2 obvious horses. And if you can't get like a 2-5 home with 2 horses, you can't. It just goes to show you, though, Jackson. I was in the contest also. But I'll talk briefly about, I only had 1 entry. I'll talk about briefly what I did. I'm trying to find. Oh no, actually, that's okay. We'll focus on what you had there. But I didn't have a good day. I had El Grande O. I made a big play on early. He was absolutely awful in the sprint race, and I'd said I played Paladin to 2 horses in the Cigar Mile, not to the 7. I didn't like Bishop's Bay. So again, it's just one of those. I should have done something with. I could have played the exact with Paladin, but I didn't. I just didn't have confidence in who would finish second. Anyway, it wasn't for me. My point is, though, Jackson, is the week before that was the Churchill contest, or the one at Churchill, a favorite one, the last race, and it completely exploded. And you guys didn't, you ended up coming up short there. So we were talking about the show how frustrating it's got to be for you and Mikey. It's like one week the favorite comes in, you don't bet enough, or you leave the putt short or whatever. And then the next week you're like, bam, I'm going to go for it. And then a bomb comes in, and it only took 1,100 to get basically a 4th seat. So, but look, we're not Karnak. We can't see the future. It shows you just how important that last race really is. It's crazy.
No, the last race is very, very important, as you said, and it just kind of depends who wins. As like you said last week, the favorite won, and everybody hit. This week, the big favorites lost, and everyone fell off a cliff. And these are very hard things to predict. You kind of have to predict what everyone's going to do. You're trying to predict the race at the exact same time. I mean, there's so many factors going into this, and you're trying to find a bet that works in the last race that tries to cover as many bases as possible, and you kind of just hope for the best.
Really, really difficult. I hear we got a lot of people watching, by the way. Howard Kravitz, Jackson Muniz. You're watching the Leaderboard episode 5. Thanks for joining us very much. We really appreciate a few other quick items. We'll get into the contest this Saturday. We've got a great tip sheet. Our standard tip sheet. Look below the video player. ROI over $2 for over 5 years running now. And we also have Team HHH. I'm trying to find the banner for it. I'm not going to go on much about it, but we have our premium tip sheet. It's called Team HHH. Oh, there it is. Please check it out. Go to our website, hhhracingpodcast.com. You can find out on the top, there's a bar that says Team HHH. It's a year-long subscription, over 90 tip sheets, Jackson, plus stuff from Davey Lane internationally, Breeders' Cup, Derby Day stuff. You've obviously been writing for it as well this past year. It's really highly recommend, and free contest jockey, Jackson, which I know you're going to be interested in. It doesn't conflict with our TwinSpires stuff, of course, but that's more in-house. So please go ahead and check that out. It's all basically on our website, hhhracingpodcast.com. All right, Jackson, let's get into this Saturday. Now, this Saturday night, Turfway, it's going to be cold. Now, I don't think they're going to cancel, but we have to mention at least the weather situation, Jackson. The high in Cincinnati is going to be 30 Saturday, which isn't that bad, but the low is going to be 3, and Sunday's going to be very cold, and the racing is at night. I would assume they're going to be racing, Jackson. It's also safe to assume during the races, especially the later part of the card, it's going to be like, 20, high teen. I mean, like if they cancel, it wouldn't shock me. I'm not saying don't purchase the contest. You can, they'll give you a refund anyway. But in my experience, Jackson, when it's synthetic, and I have a lot of experience with it from all over the country, Tapeta's not the same as Poly. It's all different, right? But I'm very familiar with Arlington, especially when they were running. In my experiences, when it's warm, the synthetic or the Tapeta gets sort of waxy, and the surface actually gets hotter, and the times slow down, and the speed actually doesn't hold as well. But when it's either wet or cold, it really tightens up the track, and you can see some not only fast times, but I think speed plays better. In addition to that, you get a little more kickback. Now, as you know, at Turfway, they used to have like a lot of kickback when they first put it in. They've done a nicer job with the Tapeta now, and they tweaked the surface. You don't get as much kickback. It's something to keep in mind, Jackson. I'm sure you thought about it or you think about it when playing Turfway. I'm just curious to see if it's more speed favoring Saturday night. We'll have to see.
Yeah, we talked about it last week, and we actually talked about it with Tony Kayla last night. We had him on our show on the Gallop Out, and he kind of agrees that when it's wet, especially when it's wet, it can get very speedy at times.
Yep.
Cold as well, but really it's the moisture that really speeds things up, and sometimes those things go hand in hand, obviously. But yeah, you got to keep an eye on it for sure. Depending on which races you're going to target on Saturday. I mean, maybe you're looking at the later races, and you'll have the first 4 or 5 races to see how the track's playing and kind of go from there. But usually, I think with the Tapeta, I'm assuming that it's going to be fair until I see otherwise.
Yeah, we hope it's fair. I'm not, suggesting it's not going to be fair. It's something it's something to look at. I'm glad, Tony was on the show. We're going to get him on the show here too. And by the way, welcome everyone who's watching on the TwinSpires YouTube channel, and some people possibly watching on the TwinSpires X handle as well. Welcome to the Leaderboard. All right, let's talk about Saturday. About 10, 15 minutes there, Jackson. Saturday, here's the lineup of the card at Turfway, and no surprise, Jackson, 11, 14. Now, a lot of those 14s have like 2 AEs, so it's more like 12, to be honest. But you got 11, 12, 10, 12, 12. I mean, we talked about this with Matt Miller quite a bit on this show already, Jackson. You want to find that early play, which I'm still going to ask you about anyway. I got to tell you, my friend, I don't see any. There are no 6, 7 horse fields. That was for Noah. And and I don't know about obvious favorites either. We don't have any morning lines, but I scanned over the early part of the card. This whole card is just very difficult.
It's very difficult. We did the last 5 last night with Tony, and I said this is it's almost makes me like a little hesitant to play the contest just because they're so tough. I mean, you could be 5 deep in a race and completely miss the board. They're that good. I think as far as an early spot, I would guess that second race might be a target for some people. I think the horse on the rail generated a lot of buzz. That was
okay. I'm going to get to it. I thought I
yeah.
had up the Saturday
It's
card.
race
Now I
2.
don't have it up.
Yeah, you're fine. I'll
Sorry,
just
go
talk
ahead.
about it. It's race 2, Believe in Magic for William Morey. Pratt's riding. This is a horse that ran in a stakes race over at Aqueduct a few weeks back. Was on top of a really, really fast pace. They flew early. She was always a part of it, and she held on and finished second. And the horse came from over the top, from dead last, saved the ground. It was a good performance. It's a very good performance. It's the fastest number in the race. And I think everyone's going to see that. She's coming out of stakes race, dropping into the allowance ranks. I feel like this is a horse that's going to take a lot of money. And to be honest, it's probably one I'd be trying to beat at a short price. I think, is it a safe assumption that turf form is going to translate to synthetic? I think sometimes yes, but not necessarily all the time. It's not a foregone conclusion. She does have the rail, which is very difficult to overcome. And there's a lot of speed signed onto her outside. It's not like she's going to get a picnic trip from up front. So if she's going to be a big favorite, this is one I'm either going to be skipping and hoping she loses and knocks everyone out, or looking elsewhere in this race and seeing if I can eliminate a big favorite and get a price on.
Yeah, and Pratt's actually into riding, so people see Pratt. This horse is going to take a lot of money. The rail should be fine, and we have no idea how it's going to play. So Believe in Magic for black type, by the way, really good people there, really, really heady, smart ownership there, that they don't always spend a ton of money. This horse only costs 50. There's already won 178, Jackson. So black type thoroughbred's really excellent organization, a horse that everyone needs to look at, according to Jackson, to either crush or fade, possibly, depending on your opinion. The card ends with, there's 4 stake races and then main special, Jackson, as I put us on back here on the screen. You guys talked on the Gallop Out tomorrow night, Thursday night on Picks and Ponies. Myself, Pete, and Paul are going to cover that late pick 5. We'll see how it matches up with what you guys thought on the Gallop Out. Was there a rate of the 4 stake races? Was there a horse or a race you think people might focus on of just the stake races? Then we'll talk about the last race to end the show.
Yeah, I feel like the other one people will probably focus on as far as favorites to either lean on or go against will probably be the first of the stakes. That's race 6, the My Charmer. Caitlin Her Greatness is a filly from Woodbine. She won the King's Plate last year. She's very, very good. And it seems like on paper she's probably supposed to beat this field. I just worry a little about her last couple starts. I mean, she's had the lead late. It looked like she was home, and both those races she got run down. And that's kind of been the theme for her this year. She's been having not easy leads, but she's looked home a few times. It's the 3rd time it's happened just for her to get run down late. So I'm not quite sold she's necessarily as good as she was last year. I'm also not so sure you just want to assume just because they handle Woodbine to PETA that they're going to automatically handle the turf lay synthetic. We talked about that a little bit last time with Tony as well. He tends to agree. It's not exactly apples to apples. It's similar, but it's not a guarantee. So if she's a short price in here, which it sure seems like she will, I think I'd be trying to beat her in this spot too. So those are the kind of 2 races I was looking at least, to try to beat the favorites.
I'm a sucker for turnbacks, and I have to admit I've not deep dove into these races I'm doing in the next 24 hours. But a horse like Queen's Command, who's consistent in turning back and has a race over at least Woodbine Stapeda as a horse in that race that I think is worth looking at. I mean, there's a lot of ways you can go landed. Is for Wesley's awfully quick. Vina Arana, who I actually bet last time. I don't know how the horse got off at 8-1. That was completely crazy. It was dead on the board and came over the top and ran very well, although she is coming back very quick, Jackson. What was your thought on her? And then we'll go to the last race.
Yeah, she's one of those horses where the odds change went in your favor. I think she was like 7-2 the whole time, and the race went off. She went for fun and was almost 8-1. No, she could definitely win. I think we talked. She was scratched, I want to say, a couple times this summer, early in the fall. Yeah. So I think something was going on. I want to be forgiving of the comeback race, and obviously the second time out, she was really good, and she won pretty easily. I mean, you win by a length and a half in a grass race from off the pace. That's a pretty decisive victory in that spot. Now she has to transfer that form over to synthetic. She has to run without Lasix, but if she gets some pace in front of her, yeah, she can be dangerous in the spot.
Yeah, she's going to be polarizing. I'm curious to see what kind of what kind of money she takes, to be very
Mhm.
honest. There's a bunch of good stake races, obviously, on the card. Just to go through, and then we'll go to the last race. You got a 6 furlong race for the girls that's very competitive. You've got the Prairie Bayou, which is 2-turn race. Encino won that last year. Is that right? Didn't he win this last year? I'm trying to remember.
He did not.
Did not. Okay.
Paros won this race last year.
Okay. Encino was in that race, I thought, though, right? Maybe not.
Encino was the one on Jeff Ruby Stakes Day.
Oh, okay. He won. He almost won the Kentucky Classic, right?
Yes.
Otago's in here, so good luck to everyone. Shout out for Crown's Way. Not without a shot, although I think it's a bit of a tough spot, actually. And then the race before the last one, which we'll talk about just for a few minutes here, is a really competitive 6-furlong race. You got Run Carson. My namesake Howard Wolowitz is in there. Arrest Me Red, and I like Howard Wolowitz cutting back. Roll On Big Joe, who I've seen in person at Churchill, who's really fast. Look who's there. No Balls, Breeders' Cup winner. Run Curtis, Run. I mean, this race, Joe Shiesty, who I've chased the last 2 times unsuccessfully, that race is absolutely loaded, Jackson.
It's phenomenal. It's really, really good. It's deep. It's competitive. It's an interesting pace scenario. You got horses that want the lead. You got horses that want to be close. Turf form, dirt form, synthetic form. It's going to be really good. I do think Howard Wolowitz, who won this race last year, is probably going to be favored in that spot. He's just been really good when he has gotten to the synthetic, and he's another one that has a versatile running style. I just worry. We saw on opening day when Irad was there for just a few mounts. He got bet worse than he does in New York. I mean, his horses were just hammered for no reason. And not for no reason. They were live, but they were just so overbet. I'm curious to see what happens again on Saturday as far as his mounts goes. But there's no doubt that Howard Wolowitz is the horse to beat in that race.
Yeah, my only concern there is I hope that Keelan race didn't quote unquote ruin him. I have no idea why I know why they tried to stretch out to the mile. It was it's a very expensive race and they want to see what they got. I've never thought he was a distance horse. I think that was a major mistake. It turned out to be a major mistake, obviously, but he's in a much better spot. I just hope that hasn't dulled his form and his kick, and it's not as if it's not as if there are a zillion other horses in this race that could win. As I sort of got my eye behind screens on Turfways, looks like another price might win here, as the favorite was absolutely completely awful. We might be looking at pick 5 carryover, my friend. 15-1 just won at Turfway. Very, very difficult, as the favorite was completely awful. So we'll see what happens there as we're Wednesday night. There's a carryover into Thursday. All right, let's quickly talk about the last race and we'll wrap up the show, because the last race, you got to figure there's going to be a lot of people playing in it. We've talked about the importance of the last race. I looked at this race a lot more carefully already. Jackson, obviously you've looked at it as well. Maiden Special, pretty wide open field to me. Going a mile and a 16th for the 2-year-olds. There are 2 AEs. We don't have morning lines right now. I'm assuming Thailand, the number 4, is going to be the favorite. This is a Wesley Ward horse who actually saw in person at Keeneland, won to stretch out. Did stretch out last time. I won't say unsuccessfully, but didn't win. Just on paper, geez. I mean, it seems like there's 4 or 5 horses that could win this thing, at least.
Yeah, at least. And I agree. I think Thailand is the one that's going to take the most money in here. He's cost almost $1 million for Wesley Ward. Has run okay both times out, got good numbers for it, has speed. And a lot of these horses are just, this entire race, none of these horses have run on synthetic, and most of them are not working on it either. So it's kind of a guess in this spot. It's one of those, I think when you're looking at the contest from the entire card, it's one of those contests where I think I want to be at the top heading in the last race and let everyone else try to figure this one out, because this race.
Jackson froze up for just a minute. Hopefully he'll get back on. I'll give it another few seconds, and then he'll come back on screen.
You're someone that only has a couple $100 heading the last race. I mean, it seems like a race you could get really creative with.
Oh, there we go. You actually froze up for a good 15 seconds. So, sorry, we only caught what you said at the very end of Thailand. Can you just very quickly summarize what you said? You froze up for like 15 seconds.
Yeah, sorry. Just from a contest perspective, I think if you're looking at this card completely from first race to last race, this is a contest I think I'd be wanting to be ahead going in last race, because it's not one I would feel very confident in any of these horses on this surface at Turfway. So I would lean on Thailand, I think, if I was forced to, but it would not be a very confident one.
Well, the Zeppelin race is definitely a race to watch. There's 3 or 4 coming out of there. My feeling with Thailand for Ammo Racing and Pratt, I singled him in that race on November 9th in a pick 5. Obviously, it didn't work out for me. I was a little surprised he was on the lead. I think he's going to be a little better covered up. I'm curious to see if Wesley decides, I'm not saying take back to last, but just let him run out of there and maybe just get cover. We'll see. That my gut feeling is that he doesn't necessarily want to be on the lead, and Irad sort of dragged into the lead. They went very slow, and especially the middle half, and he just didn't quite kick on, but he did beat 3 or 4 others that in this race. The other horse I think you have to take a look at seriously is Empire West, who obviously is coming out of live race. I know you know this because I'm sure you've done your homework already, with 1,000 Sticks coming back out of that race and winning with a 75 buyer. So the form lines fit if you believe in that sort of thing, which I think both of us do. This is Cox, Gary Mary West. It's Irad, who actually is jumping off Thailand, although I'm not really going to read much into that. To me, if I had to go skinny without, again, I've deep dove, but I have to do more research. Just quick thoughts. If I had to go too deep, I'd probably go with those 2.
Agreed. I mean, those are the 2 obvious horses in here. It just depends, if you're playing the contest, if you only have to pick one or the other, you've got to decide if you can afford both. If you can afford both, and you feel pretty good about it. Again, this race feels a lot like a guess. There's just so many unknowns in this race on this surface.
Jackson, we almost have 300 people watching live right now, and I'm guessing a lot of you are contest players. So thanks for watching the leaderboard as we discuss the last race, which you would assume this contest will come down to last race, and NHC seats are going to be on the line in this race, almost guaranteed, Jackson, unless 2 people just completely blow it out of the water. But at a place like Turfway, I doubt that. There is one other horse that I want to mention. I'm curious to get your quick opinion. I think it's McGinnis on tap, excuse me. McGinnis on tap. I'm sure it's pronounced that way. I found it interesting. I don't know if you're really a big time form guy or not, but the buyers are pretty much the same. This is the 7 horse, McGinnis on tap for Walsh and Machado. Nice combination. The buyers are slightly less than the 4 and the 5, Empire West in Thailand, but basically in the ballpark. But what's interesting? When you look at the time form figs, this horse is a good 5, 6, 7. The last race was a huge time form number. The last race was 15 points better in the time form. And I talked to Craig Milkowski, by the way, last year, and actually have a special sheet that I'm going to talk about on our show at some point, Jackson, which basically tells you how much one length is equivalent to time form numbers based on the distance. So, for example, this is about a mile race, let's say. It's about 1.5 time form points is equivalent to one length. If you go off of that and you believe in time form, McGinnis on tap is a legit 5 or 6 lengths faster. Now, it doesn't look that way on paper. I'm not saying bet this horse in single and you'll go to the NHC. I'm just making a point, Jackson, that every fig is different, and time form at least has McGinnis on tap much faster than it looks according to the buyers.
Yeah, no, that's an interesting development because I usually get the time forms the morning of the races. So I think especially on the turf and the synthetic, the time form numbers I find to be more reliable because I think pace matters that much more. So the fact that he's faster than everyone else, I think is a good sign. And it's also a good sign. He's basically the only horse in the field that's been working at Turfway consistently. And I don't think that's been insignificant over the past couple of years.
I don't think this horse is going to get lost in the shadows with the 2 horses we talked about, but based on what you see on paper, which he's fine, I just have a feeling, I don't know, I have a feeling he's going to be 5-1 morning line and might be 5-6-1 in that race. And I'm just curious to see how that horse does. Anyway, again, I'm not saying it's my best bet. I'm not saying live or die with McGinnis on tap. I just think it's worth talking about. Jackson Muniz, it's going to be a fun contest. So let's talk very quickly about Weekend Wars, and we'll stop here. It's TBD. I don't know if we're going to do Weekend Wars or not. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit that subscribe button again at the top right. Smash the like button. Do all that good stuff, because if you're, of course, subscribed to the channel, you could find out when our show's going to be, Jackson. If we do the show, though, it's going to be at night because this is a nighttime contest. We would go about 8:45 to 10:15 Eastern. Just let everyone know if we do Weekend Warriors. Please check our YouTube channel and we'll let you know. And if we have it, it's going to be myself, I believe, Matt, and Noah, I believe, for Saturday Night Live. Great show. Before Saturday Night Live, we'll have Saturday Night Live at Turfway, perhaps. Again, check our YouTube channel to see if Weekend Warriors goes on. Jackson, that wraps up. Any final thoughts on this Saturday, or my boy Paladin, or anything else you want to discuss?
No, fun sequence on Saturday. I'm rooting for a carryover here at Turfway, and the 5th race is coming up in about 15 minutes. I haven't checked the payouts, but I got to assume with the horses that I've won so far, there's going to be at least a couple horses that are carrying over. So if we do get a carryover, Ryan and I and Andrew are going to do a quick pop-up show tomorrow morning covering the sequence. So check that out on the Gallop out. Yeah, going to be fun. Lots going on at Turfway. Fun to see them get their day in the spotlight this week.
Absolutely. Andrew Zinski, by the way, our new co-host for Bet and Boozin, is going to join these guys. So I know people might watch us later on in the week. They're like, who cares, Howard? We already know. But since we have almost 300 people watching live, the 1, 2, 6, 7, 9, 10, 12 pay out. The ones that carry over are 3, 4, 5, 11. 3, 4, 5, 11 would carry over the pick 5. And it looks like there's maybe a pool shot to the 2 for only $352K. Just to let you know, for $1, by the way. That's not for 50 cents. So so they only get 126. For 176. Excuse me, math teacher. 176 for the 2 Black Wings. So again, if you want that carryover, Jackson, 3, 4, 5, 11.
The 11 is sneaky. That's the one I've been watching in the mornings. 11's a little sneaky.
Really? Okay. There you go.
Little.
Sheer jazz. Interesting. All right. Well, Jackson, a lot of fun here on the leaderboard. Really appreciate you joining us. Great job as always. Again, coming up here in about 25 minutes, Ben and Boozin here live Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, and then perhaps Weekend Warriors this Saturday. But we definitely will have Picks and Ponies Thursday night. Myself, Pete, and Paul talking about the late pick 5 at Turfway Park. For Jackson Muniz, Howard Kravitz, the leaderboard, episode 5. Crush your bets this Saturday, Turfway Synthetic Championship, NHC qualifier. Take care, everyone. Have a great night. Bye-bye.
If you have not followed his Triple H horse racing podcast, you're missing out. It's one of the best podcasts in the country.